After debating the rest of the Democratic primary field last night, former Vice President Joe Biden made a local campaign stop in Houston today. CBS News political correspondent Ed O'Keefe was there and joins me now. Hi, Ed. So you asked Joe Biden today about his health care plan and whether a Democrat who supports Medicare for all can win the White House. What did he say about that?
He essentially said, Tanya, that sure, they could, because any Democrat could probably beat the president at this point. But he has significant concerns about the cost, the scope, and exactly how long it would take to implement the so-called Medicare for All plan that's been pushed by Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and a few others in the field. That was the crux of much of the first part of the debate last night, as it continues to be in all these debates, because health care remains the top concern, at least for Democratic primary voters across the country. Biden made the point last night, that's reflected again as well in polling done by lots of folks, that there's concerns about costs, exactly how much health care might cost in the future. Warren and Biden during the debate last night suggested that costs for most people would go down, but would refuse to engage on whether or not taxes would actually go up in order to help pay for that. Either way, it's a signal that this is going to continue to be a big part of the campaign going forward, at least when it comes to discussions of policy.
And speaking of the campaign, what is the Biden campaign strategy in Texas? And is Texas a state he is particularly focused on?
Well, he's focused on it, as most of the campaigns are that have viability going into the later stages of the primary. When it comes to the primary itself, Texas is the second largest prize on Super Tuesday, 38 electoral votes in the general election, but plenty of delegates during the primary. And so several campaigns are spending time already cultivating supporters and opening offices here in Texas. Biden, certainly, the two Texas natives, Beto O'Rourke and Julian Castro, the Kamala Harris team as well, quite interested in doing well here. You've got, of course, a cross-section of voters, be they moderate white Democrats, working-class people, black, Latino, and Asians as well. They represent a lot of the subgroups that become important in a general election, so all of them focused here. Biden did spend some time while here in Texas raising money. He is one of the few that holds high-dollar fundraisers and is trying to close up as much institutional support by elected leaders across the state ahead of Super Tuesday. But, of course, he'll have competition for that with Elizabeth Warren, who has roots here in Texas, having worked and lived here before, Harris, O'Rourke, and Castro as well.
And so, Ed, what did you take away from Biden's performance on the debate stage yesterday?
Well, the reviews, and I would tend to, I think, agree with this, having seen the first two rounds, are that he essentially held his own. He managed to engage in virtually every conversation. He had answers prepared in terms of the potential attacks, whether it was about his age. He went there himself and offered up regret on, for example, his support of the Iraq War earlier this century. That was unprovoked and came during conversation about foreign policy. And sure, he had some of those stumbles and missteps that others have flagged and raised concerns about, but generally seems to have come out unscathed, especially in terms of engaging with Senators Warren and Sanders about health care and other issues that are dominating the conversation.
So what did you make of the buzz over Julian Castro's performance and when he appeared to question Biden's mental sharpness last night, asking him if he had already forgotten something he had said 2 minutes earlier? I want to point out the Biden campaign sent an email to supporters today saying Castro had his facts wrong. So how significant was that moment?
It was significant, Tanya, in this regard. Castro went there. He brought up something that clearly everyone in the room is aware of as a potential concern, that has been the topic of conversation on television and newspaper articles, that has been whispered by other campaigns who are concerned about his age, about his ability to persevere over the course of a long campaign with Donald Trump, and worry about his agility, both mental and physical. Biden responded the way he did and kind of brushed it off, and it's probably more of a deal for Castro than Biden ultimately, because the track record of other lesser-known contenders taking on the former vice president in a debate is essentially lethal. Eric Swalwell tried it in the first debate, didn't work, and he was out within a few weeks. Ditto Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who tried it in the second debate and is no longer in the race. Castro, on that stage, is essentially the weakest of those 10. Still polling in the single digits here in his native Texas, struggling to find traction in the other early primary states. If it's perceived that that was seen as a disrespectful attack on essentially a party elder and a party leader, he could very well see financial support dry up in the next few weeks and make it difficult for him to continue, even though he's already guaranteed a spot on the debate stage next month when Democrats meet again in Ohio.
So it was somewhat of a risky move for him.
Totally risky move, absolutely.
All right. Well, Ed O'Keefe on the trail in Texas with Joe Biden, thank you so much for joining us.
Take care.